This is why you are not rich yet. And no, it's not what you think it is. I'm going to show you with a story about one of the richest men in the world. In 1968, there was a math teacher in the middle of Seattle, Washington, who decided one day that the school that he was teaching at needed a computer so that the students could play around with it. At that time, there were in the world over 300 million high school students. 18 million of those students were in the United States of America. About 270,000 of these high school students were in Seattle, Washington, and 300 of them were at a school called Lakeside. One of those students in that school, where the teacher decided that that school needed a computer, was Bill Gates. Another one of those students was Paul Allen. There was less than 1 in a million chance that Bill Gates was going to be at a school that had a computer available for him and Paul Allen to work with when they were in high school. Stories about the origins of massive successes like that are not an outlier. In fact, that is a common denominator in what actually leads to these extreme examples of success that we see. Bill Gates' friend, Kent Evans, also went to that same high school. And he was actually even closer to Bill than Paul Allen. He was super bright, he was business minded, and he was super ambitious. Unfortunately, Kent Evans actually, his story ended with a 1 in a 1 million chance of a mountain biking accident that ended in his early death. Look, what we're talking about here is luck and risk. And no, I am not excusing you from doing what you need to do to be successful. In fact, I am actually doing the exact opposite. You see, there's what you can control and there's what you cannot control. What you cannot control is the amount of risk or the amount of luck that you experience in your life. And to talk about this a little bit more in depth and how it can affect you, I want to talk about Robert Schiller, who is a Nobel Prize winning economist. He was asked once if he could know one thing that he doesn't already know, what would it be? And what he said was he wished that he knew the exact role of luck in success. The thing is that our brains are not wired to accept the fact that we get lucky. And if you try to tell someone that they were lucky when they are successful, it's rude, right? But here's the reality. Um, when we win, we are going to call it skill. And when we lose, we're going to call it luck. It's just a part of our brain chemistry. We don't like to admit when things don't go our way that it could have actually been skill. And when things do go our way, we don't want to admit that it was actually mostly luck. But when you listen to conversations from the most successful people in the world, they will tell you that luck played a huge role in their success. And it's not that luck is the only thing, but you need skill and you need luck. But first off, I just want to break down the psychology of this. One of the concepts is called attribution theory. which is how we naturally create a reason for things that there may not really be a specific reason for. Um, a lot of things that happen, they just happen. And our brains are wired to come up with some sort of a reason for why, whether it's true or not. You see it all the time in the news. You see it all the time in your everyday life, where people will come up with a reason for why the stock market went down by 10%. And usually it's so interesting in the news. Like they'll put what happened and then the reason that they're ascribing to it right next to it. But like those two things are commonly very separate, or maybe, the thing that happened after the market declined and so on and so forth. But, anyways, attribution theory is something that we all have to deal with. Another concept, it's not specifically psychology, but it's just in nature. We have mean regression. So basically, when things are performing well, or when someone performs well, uh, what usually follows that is subpar performance, just out of the math of probabilities, right? A distribution of probabilities. Um, and obviously, the other way around, when something is going poorly in the beginning, it may then go better in later times. This was observed in science. Like, for instance, your height, right, is something that regresses to the mean over time. Some people will have kids that are taller than both parents, and some parents will have kids that are shorter than both parents. It's just a part of the way that nature balances things out. So, once again, we're more likely to ascribe some sort of a reason for why mean regression is happening when really it's just a natural phenomenon. Look, the point is that just because you aren't rich right now does not mean that you will not be rich. And in fact, a lot of the struggles that you're experiencing right now are going to set you up for the success that you're going to have in the future. So there's a thing that we cannot control, which is risk and luck. All right. You know about it now. You can recognize that it plays a role in where you are today. Nothing. The end. Um, then there's what you can control. You have to do everything in your power to get luck and risk on your side. You have to do everything in your power to improve your skill so that the luck, at whatever degree you have it, all right, will actually have the maximum effect that it can have on your life. What are the things that you can control? You can control your attitude and your beliefs. The things that you believe in, the beliefs that you have about your ability and your future will determine whether or not you do the things that you need to do to create that future. It will determine whether or not you develop the habits that you need to develop in order to make sure that you reach your goals. Your beliefs also really impact the attitude that you have around the things that are happening on the way to that success. And the attitude that you give and that you bring to the world will determine whether or not people are readily sitting there available to help accelerate and contribute to the luck that you have. So, look, uh, the beliefs that you have, the attitude that you bring with you, and the actions that you actually take and the habits that you build are way more important than the role of luck uh, and risk in your life, because once again, you cannot control those things. So, in closing, I just want to leave you with a message that you should have faith in the fact that over time you will achieve your goals, whether they're financial or anything else that you want in life. You have to believe that you can do it. You have to believe that things will eventually change. And whether you have faith in God or you have faith in your abilities or you just have faith in science and in the concept of mean regression, you have to have faith. And it's the only way to ensure that you are able to capitalize on the power of exponential growth, which is something that you don't see in the beginning. And it's something that you don't see for the majority of the process. And so the only way to ensure that you succeed is to ensure that you don't quit. And that's all I've got for you today. There's going to be some videos about risk and luck that will come up here if you're watching this. And yeah, I highly recommend that you check those out. And if this was something that was inspiring or helpful to you, press the like button, hit subscribe, and share this with someone else who really needs to hear this or who you think could benefit from hearing this message at all. And other than that, thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time.